Comics Relics. I'm Ray Mascalato, and last time we looked at something I wrote for the Comics Journal 25 years ago. It was my top 20 mainstream comics of the 20th century list, and that was a supplement to the 100 best comics of the century list that I took part in, but which I'm still trying to get ready to talk about, so we're going with this instead for now. Anyway, I did have a lot of fun poking fun at 1999 me for his choices, especially Plastic Man, which apparently I still needed to read the archives at the time. But it did get me to thinking, what comics would be in my top 20 today? My top 20 for the 20th century mainstream comics, not for mainstream comics up to now. We gotta play within those parameters at least. And I came up with a quick list. It's a little different. Actually, it's a lot different. So I'll just go over it. I'll explain the new ones, and the ones that I've already chosen before, I'll let speak for themselves from last time. So bear with me because I don't have notes. I just have these ideas in my head this time, because making these lists can get tiring after a while, I guess. Okay, number 20, Daredevil 191 by Frank Miller and Terry Austin. I think Miller meant this as a coda to his run on Daredevil. I remember reading in an interview that he imagined after this story, Daredevil hung up his suit and just became Matt Murdock lawyer for the rest of his life. It's a very bleak, powerful story, and the art is just beautiful with Terry Austin doing the inks. We're used to Jansen doing inks on Miller, but Austin brought out something quite different, something more grounded, and it paid off in the story about hero worship and the cost of violence. So yeah, Daredevil 191 at number 20. Number 19, Jughead by Sam Schwartz. Okay, this is me going all eclectic and idiosyncratic, but I do love Sam Schwartz. There's a reason I have the first issue of Tippy Teen and Debbie. He does such a great job with panels, with body language, with telling a joke, and his run on Jughead is monumental to me. I can see other fans of Archie choosing Dan DiCarlo or Bob Bowling, but Sam Schwartz has always been my guy, and I think Jughead really needs to be appreciated and reevaluated in that sense. Speaking of which, number 18 is Cable by Joe Casey and Joe Ladron. This is another out-of-the-blue selection, but then in my original top 20 list, there were a lot of out-of-the-blue selections, apparently. But you gotta trust me, if you haven't read this, it is an incredible, lunatic summation of what made 1990 superhero comics great. Ladron combines so many world influences in comics, like you can see Mobius, you can see Katsuhiro Otomo, you can see Masamune Shirow, and it leads to a very interesting cape comic unlike any other. If anything, it's more sci-fi superheroes than just plain superheroes. Okay, number 17 in my new top 20 mainstream, Wrath of the Spectre by Michael Fleischer and Jim Aparo. These comics are crazy in a fun way. There's a loopy Spirit of Vengeance vibe, and Aparo's art is just spectacular. I don't know why I didn't include it last time, to tell you the truth. Number 16, Master of Kung Fu by Doug Mensch, Paul Gulacy, Mike Zeck, and Gene Day. I only came into this like in the past decade. It's a great combination of superheroics, sort of, martial arts, espionage, and some very enjoyable philosophical musings. It's a great series, and even after Gulacy leaves, Zeck and Day do a great job as well. So yeah, this is a series that is often spoken of highly for fans of 1970s Marvel. I think it does need to be read more still. Number 15, Weapon X by Barry Windsor Smith. It's an art comic that uses Wolverine. Windsor Smith does such a wonderful job here, and it's almost psychedelic how he tells his story. Number 14, Bill and Ted's Excellent Comic, number 11. I included the whole series in my first top 20. I am narrowing it down to number 11 this time because that Lincoln assassination issue is sheer perfection, like I said. Number 13, Legion of Superheroes by Paul Levitz, Keith Giffen, Steve Lytle, Greg LaRocque. So many great artists. I know that Legion is most praised for the Levitz and Giffen collaborations, but I think all of Levitz's second run, from right before the Great Darkness Saga to the Magic Wars, was an excellent, well-crafted superhero science fiction series. There was strong world building, universe building, really, and the characterization and the character development is phenomenal. If you look at the start of Levitz's second run and trace the development of characters like Projectra and Shrinking Violet and Timberwolf, he really accomplishes mature storytelling for Cape Comics. More so, I think, than even the New Teen Titans or Uncanny X-Men. I've always been a Legion fanboy, and that's why I think I resisted putting the Legion on my top 20 list way back when. But I've made peace with the fact that I am a Legion fanboy, and that the reason I'm a fanboy for Legion is precisely because Levitz was such a skilled storyteller, and because he had such great collaborators, especially Keith Giffen. Okay, number 12 is Astro City. Again, Life in the Big City. Again, I don't know why I didn't include The Nearness of You, so that would be included this time. But yeah, those first 6 issues and that half issue, still great comics, great use of superheroes as a metaphor. Number 11, Flex Mentallo. I recently did a Comics Relics on Flex Mentallo specifically, so you can go back and find out why I'm so attached to it now, when I used to hate it when it first came out. Number 10, Times Squared. Of course, that was in my list before. Number 9, Mad the Comic, also included before. Number 8, Dark Knight Returns, another inclusion. Number 7, Plastic Man. I've read more Plastic Man, so I think I'm more justified, and it definitely deserved higher on the list from last time. This time, I've read enough to be sure of it. Really sure of it. Number 6, okay, it's a bit of a drop, is The Spirit. And number 5 is Fantastic Four by Lee and Kirby, also a drop. Number 4, Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck. That was the same as last time at least. Number 3, Elektra Assassin by Frank Miller and Bill Sankovich. Yeah, as time passed, I learned to appreciate this one more and more. It's not a traditional superhero comic, but it's still a superhero comic. And it's still a mainstream comic. And it is so crazy and funny and inspired. The way Miller and Sankovich worked together to create a very unique experience. The fact that they got away with it, I think, is a huge testament to just how good this is, I think. So, yeah. Elektra Assassin at number 3. And at number 2, my favorite Cape comic of all time, Manhunter by Archie Goodwin and Walt Simonson. I just love Manhunter. I own it in so many editions now. And it is a master class in comic storytelling. Every chapter in this short run leaves me in awe. There are so many things in Goodwin's storytelling, and more so in Simonson's visual storytelling, that just hits you so hard and still hits me every time I read it. I am just always in awe when I read Manhunter and I see what they've accomplished there. So yeah, it's my favorite Cape comic of all time. It took me a while, I guess, to figure that out, but that's number 2. And at number 1, Uncle Scrooge by Carl Barks. Barks is still the greatest mainstream comic of the 20th century. His Duck comics are without peer. I got that right in 1999, I believe, and I have it right now. Now, to address some questions, why is there so much Frank Miller on this list now? He understands that superheroes and violence in it is entertainment and spiritual uplift in a weird way, and social commentary. This is especially clear in the 3 comics of his I've chosen. All of them are about violence. All of them use superheroes, each in a unique way, I'd argue. And each makes a very specific statement politically, socially, that I think is worth listening to. Now, why is there no Alan Moore this time? I would say that I realize the work that speaks most to me by Alan Moore, at least from the 20th century, are not mainstream. From Hell, Big Numbers, Brought to Light, Halo Jones. Now, in the 21st century, I would say that his mainstream comics work improved considerably, but we're just looking at the 20th century right now. Why did I drop Sandman? I explained last time. I didn't include Watchmen because it never resonated with me as deeply as the other choices in my top 20. Sandman, maybe I should have included Dream of a Thousand Cats or Ramadan. I don't know. There were other things I wanted to put in. And if any other Vertigo book would make my new top 20, it would actually be The Eaters by Peter Milligan and Dean Ormston. If you haven't read The Eaters, it's a Vertigo Voices one-shot. It's a great little story about family and cannibalism. And yeah, I could see that one in my top 20, except I had to make room for Jughead. So I'm going to leave it here for now. Thank you for indulging me. I'm Ray Mescalado. Have a good day. Goodbye.